Okay, so this is where we start to get into focusing on Sasuke. You know, this is when his story really starts to have an impact on us who are trying to learn from him, right? And so we've went into the backstory of, Sasuke's environment growing up, the energetic bubble that he was constantly surrounded by, being the Uchiha clan. And of course, just, the backstory of Kanaha and the Hidden Leaf Village and how everything was formed. All these things play a role into Sasuke's life, at least the way he was developed growing up. And so, in everyone's life, in every individual's life, there's always those few traumatic events that happen. And they don't even have to be traumatic, but there's always those big events that happen that shape that individual for the rest of their life. And usually, these major events usually happen when the person's still in their young years growing up, probably their teens or even before that. And these events shape and have a profound effect on how the individual builds their personality for the future and what type of personality traits that they're going to have that solidifies into the individual that they, end up becoming. And so for Sasuke Uchiha, you could say a multitude of things happened to him, but if there was one thing, one event, one experience that impacted Sasuke's life the absolute most, it would have to be the slaughter of the Uchiha clan. Now, I won't get into the entire history of what happens with the slaughter of the Uchiha. This is one of the major events that happens in the show Naruto because, this slaughter wasn't just something profoundly happening in Sasuke's life. It didn't just directly impact him. The slaughter of the Uchiha clan directly impacted just about everybody in the Naruto verse, at least in the Hidden Leaf Village. Once again, the Uchiha were the elites of the elite. They were the number one clan. They had the most impact. They had the most influence. Going across all the Hidden Leaf villages, right? And so by them being wiped out, this directly impacted not just the Hidden Leaf, but the entire Naruto verse and all the characters, associated with it. But anyways, our focus is Sasuke, so I won't go into extreme depth on the Uchiha slaughter and the history behind that. But there is a few key points that I need to go over, and so for us to understand why the Uchiha massacre had such a huge direct impact on Sasuke and in his life moving forward. And the absolute number one reason, and we all know this, why the Uchiha massacre had such a direct impact on Sasuke was the one who actually did the massacre. We all know that the individual who actually executed the entire massacre of the clan was none other than Itachi Uchiha, yes, Sasuke's older brother. And there's so many factors that played a part as to why Itachi had to do what he had to do. I don't want to go into all that right here and right now. That would take forever. Itachi is someone I'm definitely going to make, future videos on in terms of courses and something along the lines of what I'm doing right now for Sasuke. But, a lot of it had to do with just the tensions between the Uchiha clan and the village elders that we talked about in the previous module. And Itachi was a genius. He was very much a genius. He was extremely powerful, and he had the potential to become the greatest Uchiha to ever live. And the one thing about Itachi, which you could say is unfortunate, and it shouldn't be unfortunate, it's even sad that I have to say this is unfortunate, but the unfortunate trait that Itachi had that it led to all of this happening, the Uchiha massacre, was that Itachi had a kind soul. Itachi was very empathetic, Itachi was very sympathetic, and he just understood the perspectives of both parties, and he was a very kind soul, and both parties, the Uchiha clan, his own family members, and, the other party, which being the Hidden Leaf elites, they all took advantage of Itachi and used him as a pawn for their own benefit. But anyways, Itachi went ahead and carried out the Uchiha massacre, completely executing everybody all in one swift night, just going through and annihilating, murking the entire clan. And he was 13 when he did it, which is absolutely insane. But the reason why this had such a direct impact on Sasuke, yes, obviously, it is going to directly impact anybody if your entire clan and bloodline gets slaughtered. But there's one crazy part, is that Itachi did it in front of Sasuke. We all know that Sasuke was the last surviving member, but early on in the show, we didn't know how it happened. Bruh, it wasn't like he took a nap or went out to go get some groceries or went to go play at the park or something, studying, and then he came back and everyone, no. Sasuke witnessed his entire clan with his own eyes, including his own parents. He witnessed with his own two eyes as a 7-8-year-old child get murked. He witnessed it with he saw all the bloodshed, and at such a young age when your brain isn't even fully developed yet, that had a tremendous impact on his psyche. So now we get into the foundations of Sasuke's personality. Obviously, the slaughter of the entire clan that it was so beloved to his heart played a huge part into how he developed his psyche. And as we know, like with the strongest Uchiha members and just the strongest shinobi in the Naruto-verse in general, the strongest shinobis usually have personalities built off strength, pain, and suffering. And Sasuke was not exempted from this at all. So Itachi, after executing the plan, he goes off and he disappears, and he's now a rogue ninja, right? Sasuke's older brother is now a rogue ninja, and in Sasuke's head, the only person who's alive in terms of who shares the same bloodline as an Uchiha is his older brother, who is now gone after committing the most heinous crime in probably Konoha history. So Sasuke is now alone. He's completely alone. He's 8 years old and he is alone. There is no more family there for him during tough times. There's no family there for him during good times. He's completely alone. There's no one that shares the same bloodline. There's no one that shares the same family crest on their back, on their t-shirt. There's no one there. He is now completely alone for the first time in his entire life. And this is where Sasuke starts to build an energy that would become the fuel, a specific emotion that would become the fuel for his mentality and for his drive for the rest of his life, at least until he becomes an adult in Boruto. But this energy that he started to cultivate and build and grow and nurture was hate. So Sasuke is now 8, 9, 10 years old, and he has to sit down with himself and decide what it is that he wants to do with his life. Now that all these emotions are within him, he's gotten over the pain, at least in the initial shock phase, right? He's gotten over the initial shock of pain that came with the slaughter of his clan, but that energy is still there. It's still bubbling in his body, and he has to get it expressed. He has to get rid of it somehow. Sasuke, at still a young age, right? Still at beginning age, sits down with himself and says, what shall I dedicate myself to? And this is where Sasuke begins to cultivate his life purpose. This life purpose, unfortunately, being built off hate, but nonetheless a life purpose. Sasuke sits down with himself and says, the only reason I should be existing right now, the only thing that matters the most to me in this life is to avenge my clan. The only thing that matters to me is avenging the Uchiha name, and to do that, I must dedicate myself to killing Itachi. Immediately after this, Sasuke then begins to really start to build what I call a world in his own head. All Sasuke did was think about killing Itachi. His attention was focused on nothing other than that. And because of this, his personality started to get built and cultivated around this one life purpose, this one plan. To Sasuke Uchiha, this life purpose, this plan of extinguishing Itachi from the face of the earth, he felt that was a personal thing that was just between him and his brother. And so he felt that no one else really needs to play a role in this. And this is where Sasuke starts to build the personality of not talking to others, not really being social, not really spending time with other individuals, because one, his attention is only set on getting rid of Itachi, but two, he also feels it's a personal thing that he himself can only do and involves no one else. Once again, Sasuke starts to build this world in his head. All of his imagination is beginning to become cultivated around this one life purpose. So I can just imagine Sasuke, right, just sitting down every night. He's laying in bed. As soon as he wakes up in the morning, all he's thinking about when he's eating lunch, when he's eating breakfast, when he's eating dinner, all he's thinking about is how can I get my hands on Itachi. He's imagining himself training to become powerful. He's imagining what steps he needs to take to become powerful. He's imagining what type of relationships he would need to build or who he could probably use to cultivate more power. He's imagining all these different things. He's building a world in his head that is centered around this life purpose. Now, once again, it is completely unfortunate that he had to build his personality off the energy and emotion of hate, but nonetheless, this is what Sasuke's personality was, or excuse me, this is how his personality got formed. Sasuke was an extremely focused savage. Sasuke's personality reminds you of a Sigma male. It reminds you of a wolf. It reminds you of an eagle. Sasuke's personality was extremely obsessive, extremely focused, really closed into himself, bottled emotions, but expressing those emotions through action. Sasuke was reserved, but he was never anxious. He was never fearful. Sasuke was to himself, but he was still confident in his ability. So now you have this individual who is so confident and has such a high sense of self-worth, but is still closed into himself. And this is the individual and personality that we see for almost 1,000 episodes until the end of Shippuden.